and then
All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the final day of our Climate Action Summit. It's definitely a jam-packed day, so I'm really excited to kick it off with my favorite duo, Rich and Seb from the Society Company. For those of you who don't know them or have not heard of the Society Company,
we're a bit like Morecambe and Wise for community or something. The double act.
Right. So I came across them, I think it was almost 9 months ago now, isn't it, guys? No, actually, Seb, I met you literally a year ago at another investor summit, which I was on a panel on, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, so I got to know about what Seb was doing, and then over a period of time, as they refined the idea, we got back together, and now obviously I work alongside them. So I'm firstly very proud, and secondly also honored to have them share their story and what they're creating. So I'll let you guys do a quick intro of yourselves and then jump in.
Great. So I'm Sebastian. Hello, everyone. Really happy to be here and really honored to be part of something like this that Namisha's put together and all of the hard work that's gone into it. A whole week of really inspirational and inspiring speakers across our sector and people who really, I think, in the coming years will look together to change the world. We believe that we're just like that as well, and that we're in great company. Myself and Richard started Society Company. It hasn't quite been a year since we've been at the grindstone, but we were really interested in engaging communities and this grassroots level of building really effectively a powerhouse where communities felt engaged, because it's hard for an individual to be able to go green. It's not cost effective and it's not time effective. So we wanted to engage communities to be able to make that easier, effectively like a co-op. And my background was primarily in technology in the restaurant industry. And I realized that there were incredible technologies that weren't being used or leveraged on a community basis. So that's where I've come from. And my co-founder, Richard, can take it away from here and his story.
Good morning, everyone. Yeah, I look after the operations for the Society Company. Started working with Seb very close to a year ago now. It was late July last year, so we're about to have our big anniversary party end of the month. It's been an amazing year since then. Yeah, launching just before Christmas with our first community, and then starting to really grow after that before everything was affected for everybody by the lockdown. And it's been a very, very interesting year. A lot of challenges to deal with, but we've come an awful long way. So it's been an interesting journey so far, and looking forward to the next year of it and see where we can go in that time. So my background is very different to Seb. I come from an engineering, sciencey design background, and my previous incarnation was I co-founded a company called DIY Kyoto, and we launched one of the first energy monitors in the world called Watson. And I spent many years commercializing that, trying to take that into, well, succeeding in taking it into manufacture and selling it all around the world. But that came, there were a few challenges with that, and that eventually went wrong. So I've been looking for the next exciting thing to get involved in for a while. And when I met Seb, I knew this was the right thing for me. So it's been a really fascinating journey so far.
Oh, thank you, guys. I think also what you both are doing, or what you guys have created, is really important when we specifically talk about goal 12, which is responsible consumption and production. So what I thought, if you both allow me, is to share from my perspective why I personally invested in this company and how this aligns to the SDGs, and then I'll let you guys take it from there. So for us, when we focus on goal 12, we realize that as a society, we have fundamentally linearized the way we consume products. So there's movements of products in one way, going from literally, raw material factory into people's homes, and then for the most part into landfills or the oceans. We've heard a lot of people speak about this, other speakers who are also tackling multiple challenges across that whole value chain. But where society company becomes more interesting is the efficient management of shared resources. And I won't go into much about how they do it because I'll let Rich and Seb explain that to you. But this is why, for me personally, they're a great example of how we tackle this specific goal at a grassroots level. So we heard from a lot of speakers where, majority of them have spoken about how tackling goals is a lot about education. We need to really re-educate consumers. And we also heard from people like Recycle and Anirudh, who spoke about if you're going to tackle the problem of waste or to be responsible consumers, we have to start educating young kids first. So when you bring all of these both problem statements and opportunities to solve these problems, this is where, in my opinion, society company comes in. So I'll hand it back to them to really dive into how it is that they operate and tell you a bit more about their mission.
Great. I'm just sending over the file to you right now, but I think we should kick off by really sort of understanding the problems that people face. And there is, I think we can all feel it, this element of disconnected consumption in a lot of what we do. And it's one of the main challenges which we were focused on, and one of the root causes that we felt was driving a lot of the social ills, whether they're ecological, societal, and dare I say political. This idea of disconnected consumption, if I can give you an example, is that we really don't know where our food comes from and the supply chain that brings it to us. We don't know who makes our clothes or where the energy is that we use, or where the energy comes from. And we've handed over that control for the very real benefit of convenience. So we realized that in a society like ours, things have to be convenient, and we needed to do both if we were going to succeed. And understanding the kind of linchpin that holds it all together is the communities that we're all a part of. And there's nothing more convenient than buying what you need through the community that you love. And really that's what we set about doing, where you're going and spending time, energy, and money at the community. You're already spending a huge amount of your day taking your kids to school or going to your local church or sports club. And we felt that there was, in that moment of connection, that there's a moment to do a lot more than just taking your kids to school or going to church, but actually you can pick up everything that you need on that monthly shop, saving you time, saving you the money, because you're buying together as a community and therefore reducing the cost of those purchases, and saving plastic, because we're a zero plastic waste entity. And that's something I'd like to kind of hand over to Richard for, because that's an area that I think he has a huge amount of passion in, and an operational ability to be able to make sure that it happens.
Thanks, Seb. Yes, that's one of the things that really attracted me to the society company, was the opportunity to have an impact on plastic waste, specifically single-use plastic. So a big part of what we do is that we really think about the lowest impact packaging that we can provide things in. So with the toiletries and cleaning products that we offer, they all come in plastic bottles, because plastic is actually not really the enemy. It's the way we use plastic that's the problem. Plastic itself is an incredibly useful material. So we're not against plastic per se. We're just trying to make sure that we get good value out of it, in this, well, environmental value and also cost value. The plastic's very efficient, but when you chuck it away after a single use, it becomes very inefficient. So we've set up systems so that we fill our own products here in our warehouse. Not here. This is not our warehouse, by the way.
It looks like a lovely warehouse.
It would be nice, wouldn't it? Just go for a little nap. Yeah, we fill all our plastic bottles ourselves, and then when we fulfill the orders, then people get the bottles and they have a little note on them saying, please return them to the collection point in your community. And then we go around and we pick up all the empties when we do the next drop, and we bring them back, we wash them, we refill them, and we reuse them again and again. Obviously making sure that they're still fit for use, but yeah, that means that we can get an awful lot more environmental and economic value out of the plastic that we're using. So some of that is our own bottles that we buy fresh, and sometimes we actually work with manufacturers and supply in their bottles, and then we just refill their bottles too, with our own little sticker on it, reminding people that not to chuck them away, but to hand them back to us and we'll reuse them.
And it's interesting.
Carry on.
Well, it's this idea around kind of refill and reuse, that actually let's work with what we've got. Plastic isn't the enemy in regards to a product. It isn't in and of itself the enemy, but it's the single use of it. It's how we use that particular product, which I think is the danger. Oh, fantastic. Thank you, Nimisha. So
No
yeah,
problem. Just tell me when you want to flick forward.
Yeah, so we started by analyzing this refill model and how it's used and how it's rolled out on a commercial basis. And we realized that there was a space to be able to do it in the background. Now, when you're going to a normal refill store, you have to go out of your way, you have to bring your own containers, you really have to spend quite a bit of time, energy, and money to do this. And we wanted to basically lubricate that supply chain to the point where we refill so you don't have to. And you pick up everything that you need in a non-plastic, zero waste format at a price that's acceptable and correlates with major supermarkets, and where you know that the profit goes back to the places that you love. And really, this is where it all starts. It starts with the products that we consume. And we chose the most ubiquitous set. So everything that you need to feed, wash, and clean your family and home, but made sure that we get the product from a sustainable source. And that's an ongoing project that we're seeking more and more to find the best manufacturers within each given product. I think next slide is perfect. Thank you. If we consider the places that we regularly visit on a day-to-day basis, it could be your office, it could be your local pub, it could be the school where you take your children to. As I said before, it could be your religious organization or your place of worship. But we have an intrinsic tie to these places. And it's the love that people have for their community that we're really trying to engage with. We think that community centers don't have to be just that, and that with the technology that we provide, that actually they can become a lot more. Next slide. Rich, if you want to take this one, as it's around kind of single-use packaging and our refill model.
Yeah, so at present we're mainly using simple packages that we apply our own labels to, but ultimately we want to make sure that we also give people a chance to dispense into their own reusable containers at home as well. So at present the food comes in recycled craft paper bags, which are brilliant for being the minimum impact for getting the food from our warehouse to your kitchen. But then once it's there, it's fine to keep storing them in that, but to give them a longer shelf life, then if you put them into your own storage containers, then they'll last even longer and even better. So that's definitely an area that we're going to get into. So the way that we're understanding our own packaging really is to try and figure out the way to get it from our warehouse to your kitchen in the best state possible, but with the minimum possible impact. So it's a bit of a challenge to get our head around exactly what that means, but we think we've got a pretty sensible solution to that at present, but we are always looking to try and figure out even better ways to do it. And like I say, we'll be offering reusable containers at some point too, to complete that journey, so that once you've got it at home, you'll be able to store it and know that it's keeping fresh for as long as possible. Brilliant. I'm just thinking, have we made it clear what the proposition is at present? We've talked about how you get it from your school and that it's in sustainable packaging and it's sustainably sourced, but are we assuming that people know what we do?
We could be putting our heads in the sand slightly there. Yeah, I will. I'll certainly cover that off. We provide, these 14. You get your choice of 14 essentials every single month to feed and clean your family and home. And what that means is everything from pantry essentials, canned goods, shampoo, conditioner, and anything that you need to clean your home properly. And we'd like to price it at where it's less than £1 a day for you to have an eco and sustainable lifestyle, and it's delivered to your community every single month. So a price of £25 a month subscription for all that, where you pick up the empties and place them back, and we replace them in your next order for you to pick up at your school. So we believe that we can be better than Waitrose, but hopefully cheaper than Lidl as we grow. And do you want to add anything to that, Richard?
No, that's about the size of it. We deliver to and from communities in bulk, so that when you're visiting that community, you pick it up when you'd be there anyway. And that's not only convenient for you, but it's also, we think, an excellent way to reduce transport emissions, because we're just building on journeys that are already being made. Sorry, I've got a little one. Do you want to say hello, Dylan?
No.
This is our little eco warrior mascot.
Yes, he's joining climate action. I love it.
We don't believe in clothes in this. So this is my eldest, Dylan. So there are two other ones that may or may not burst in at some point.
That's no problem. It's okay.
It's all wild at the nudist colony.
Stop it, Sam.
But yeah, I think the underlying, if we kind of go back to 2 slides down, I think kind of covering off, it's what we're trying to do above and beyond bringing people what they need. It's about the connections and places that really matter to you. So it's a retail where you gather concept, where we're taking the shop to the people. So the places that you're already spending time and which you are genuinely invested in, we believe that's where the profits should go. And we give 15p out of every pound spent by their community members back into the community where they picked it up from. So it's reimagining retail for a social purpose in these locations where you already spend your time, and where in the future, and an economic downturn that we're surely looking to face, we're looking to fund interesting projects moving forward within those communities, whether they have an ecological slant or not. We believe that actually the money that you spend and the power that's in your pocket should remain in the community that you spend your time, so you can benefit from the value that you're actually creating. And as it says on the screen, it's really this compelling opportunity that we see to create something more than just a church or a school, and a way to fund really the activities that I believe will be threatened over the course of the next decade. I think where it becomes interesting and where we're different, I think you could say, from from supermarkets, even though we have an essential supermarket offering, just the most eco version of it, is that the business model trims all of the fat. We don't have any of the labor, infrastructure, or marketing costs of the big retailers. And these established businesses like Tesco's or Sainsbury's or Lidl or Aldi, they tend to make people want things. And we're not in the business of doing that. We're going to do the opposite. We're going to try and give people something that they actually need and something that they want in the form that they want, along with that social capital and very real capital that goes back to their community centers. And we believe that this can become infectious and that this can genuinely be rolled out across pretty much most community sectors that we find. I don't know about you, Rich, but there's, in regards to kind of looking at different spaces in where you believe this could work, I can see it working very well in offices that want to give back and give the profit back to a charity or a community. And I'd like to kind of go into some of the discussions you've had with charity shops, which I think have been hit hardest in this recent pandemic, and maybe how this could work with elements of the high street that are going to get hit the hardest. If we don't want a high street that's dead in the next kind of 5 years, I think it needs support as well. And some of the conversations you've had with charities have been really interesting. So
that's right, yeah.
I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, that's definitely another avenue that we're close to getting into. So charity shops have their own special type of community. People that go there all the time for their requirements, plus the volunteers they've got, and they have the added advantage of being on a high street location. So we're thinking that there'd be a really interesting place for us to work with, so that instead of having to make a journey to a community, even though you're likely to be going there anyway, if we can offer a destination on a high street that's equally convenient or more convenient, then that just gives more flexibility to our subscribers. And then it's obviously a really tough time for charities at present. We keep hearing about how all their fundraising activities are cancelled, but also the bigger economic picture is going to mean that people are possibly less generous in their giving. Who knows, maybe it'll go the other way and people will all club together and help out. But certainly I think the charities are currently expecting to be hit pretty hard. So we're thinking that if we can work together with charities with physical locations, and that our subscribers work with them and pick up from them, and then if the charity gets the 15% revenue share from us, then that could be a really significant additional income stream for those charities. So that's something that we're very excited about expanding into.
So I just did want to check, did you guys share that unique fact that you do reinvest almost, was it 15p or less?
Yeah.
Pound spent? Do you want to just talk a little bit about that as well?
Absolutely. It's at the moment it's 15p out of every pound, and as we grow and become more efficient, I believe that can actually grow, and that number can grow and expand along with us, because it's really important that everybody wins in this scenario. This system only works if the parents and families win by getting what they need at the best possible prices in the best form possible. We only win if the communities benefit from their community members' purchases and can put the money towards genuinely life-changing projects that we're looking to help steer in the future ecologically, like Solar for Schools programs or vertical farms within schools. But for now, really, schools, churches, every church has a leaky roof, every school needs more supplies. It's their money to do with what they will. There's ways to incentivize that and raise money off the back of it with CSR funding to put towards interesting infrastructure projects. But for now, I think communities are in potential danger of not being able to service in the way that they did before. And it's important now more than ever to make sure that these communities are in the best shape possible. And I think the easiest way to do that is the cash. Cash is king in business, and not that schools and churches are businesses, they have a much more of a social profile and a social mission than that, but they do need to stay afloat. And I think when you look at you know, an Amazon Smile, for instance, which is, you go on Amazon and they give 0.5%. We're looking to kind of eclipse that with 15p out of every pound, 15% of revenue spent given back to the community, which works out being something quite substantial when you look at all of the parents when they engage with us on this.
I love that. It's one of the reasons I personally was really invested in the brand, but also the business. And I think just as an FYI to anyone who's watching, you know, a 15p return is pretty amazing when we talk about how we're going to run a business like this at the, you know, when we compare costs and distribution and all of those things. Because what was it, Seb, we were talking about a few days ago, an Amazon Smile reimburses how much? What was the comparison?
It's 0.5%, so it's half a percent of what's spent on that, and it kind of goes back to a sort of charity of choice. And a lot of communities that we're working with aren't necessarily in the charity sector, so it wouldn't necessarily be the same type of offering.
Yeah. And I think the other thing that's also so important is the redistribution of resources. So you kind of touched on it a little bit when you talked about, you know, solar for schools and vertical farms. So is that something you guys can talk about a little bit more? I know it's kind of a future plan, but I think it'd be nice for people to hear.
I think we're on a 10-year journey with these communities, and Society Company was set up with the main mission, goal, and intention to create self-sustaining, resilient communities in the face of a difficult world, a world which is going to have to deal with climate change and the ramifications that come with that. And for communities, we've just seen in the last year what's happened to supply chains when real disaster hits, and it's not good. We believe that communities need to be more. They need to provide more for their communities, but they don't have a way to do it. They don't have the revenue to be able to put towards these type of projects. But I see a future where communities, where schools create their own food, where churches are creating their own energy and selling it back to the grid and becoming carbon neutral. And I think that's a society that I want to live in, that actually benefits the whole community. And that is our overall mission and our 10-year plan. At the moment, we're very much concentrated and completely focused at getting this first stage and getting money flowing back into communities from their community member purchases in the best way possible, while still retaining all of our values. And that's really, really difficult. Going green is, it's seen as a premium option, but we really need the single mum in Dagenham with 4 kids to be able to engage with not just green issues, but with green products in a way that doesn't cost the earth, you know, and break the bank. And it's become evident now more than ever the importance of our model and how and where we believe that it can work and do the real change that it needs to. Did you have anything to add, Rich, on your side?
No, I did start talking a minute ago. I guess it must have been some connection issues where I thought your connection had disappeared. So I started talking over the top of you. Then I realized actually it was me that disappeared.
Oh, don't worry.
So I was saying that one of the issues that our communities face at present is that their existing fundraising activities are so massively affected. So schools, for example, would be doing bake sales, they'd be doing summer fairs, all sorts of fundraising activities that rely on physical presence and people being able to interact. And so that's massively affected at present. So what we offer, we have found a way to make it work during lockdown. So we're giving people that chance to raise raise money whilst lockdown is still in place. We do that with making home deliveries at present. So whilst the physical gathering is very difficult at communities, then we're delivering to people's homes, but we're looking to get back to the community delivery model as quickly as possible. And that's what we're hoping to do from September, once the lockdown starts easing and once everybody goes back to school. But yeah, we know that there are a lot of challenges with fundraising at present. So if we can help with that by providing a safe way to raise funds that doesn't rely on any physical contact, then we think that's hopefully a really useful thing for communities to have access to.
Great point. Great point.
Okay. I think you guys have really covered kind of the whole mission and drive. A few more sort of personal questions to both of you. What was it about, well, not really what was it, but when we look at some of these specific challenges, like on a social level, right? Like all the things you guys described, whether it's that schools or, you know, these institutions where people gather often are lacking funding, or that we have a challenge with waste, et cetera, what motivates you both personally to do the work you do for Society Company?
Do you want to start, Rich, or shall I?
I was going to jump in and say, I think Seb and I have very similar but slightly differing priorities. I'm definitely in the sustainability focus, like it's really fundamental to everything I do. I mentioned my previous company. So basically I've been working in sustainability for 17 years. So it really is core to me. So the idea of being able to make a real difference to the packaging, but also the delivery emissions, and trying to figure out how we can be as efficient as possible, really appeals to my engineering sustainability kind of mindset. And I'm really interested in the community benefits as well. But that's me. Yeah, my priority is definitely on the sustainability side of things, I think.
And I think, I'm just turning on my video again. I think we're quite well suited to each of our, I guess you'd say my great calling would be around the community side, and not in any way diminishing the sustainability, but just in regards to our experience. I spent a lot of time, I mean, I grew up in the bell tower of a church because my dad is a vicar, and I saw firsthand how incredible and how deep the meaning really runs when communities work well, and how beneficial they can be. And I've always been very, very passionate. Whatever I was doing over the last 10 years, a lot of my time outside of that has been spent trying to grow communities, either, you know, the Nomadic Community Gardens, which was the largest gardens, you know, outdoor gardens space in London, or Para Carnival. And really, I think that's where my sort of speciality and my expertise and my experience and knowledge can really be leveraged to help. That's my passion is community, whereas Rich's passion is along sustainability. But we certainly cross over into each other's realms and understand the importance of both. And I think when they're put together, it's a bit of a powerhouse. I mean, there's nothing more dangerous for communities than the dark cloud of climate change. I mean, even David Attenborough is the normally affable man that he is. says that we're in the 6th mass extinction, and the UN General Secretary is saying that we've got these last 10 years to prevent irreparable damage. And it's my love of communities and understanding the danger that we all face that really scares me. And that's really what forced myself personally to take action. And when we looked at these interconnected problems, we realized that the solutions had to be radical and they had to be interconnected like the problems. And we feel that we've got the right mix, not just within the team to be able to complete it, but in regards to the way that we've configured the business and the model that we're going with. Does that answer your question, Amisha?
It does, yes, well done. And I think also, like, just to, you know, give you guys some reflections of a lot of things we've heard throughout the summit, is that community is probably the most said word from all the speakers throughout the summit. So we're doing this really, well, me and Jackie are doing this really weird geeky thing where we're listening to all the audio content and counting how many times something is being said as a repetitive social narrative, and community is the most used word throughout the summit. So you know, most speakers definitely resonate with the fact that without having resilient communities in those grassroots places that they're working in, they would not see any outcomes or success. And I think you did say it very well. It is a very strong and powerful combination to have both of you looking at this, because I think people forget that the resilience we all need to have to tackle climate change actually starts within our communities, not outside of, you know, spaces. Like, obviously, you know, all institutions have a role to play, but I think the one that gets downplayed the most is our own actions as a community that we can do. So I love what you guys have created, because it gives people a sense of ownership, and I'm trying to look for the right word, but it's like they feel like they have something that they can do about it. Do you see what I mean? So that's one of the things I loved.
Well, we're in the business of trying to empower and facilitate, and to really step back and let the communities be the hero of this story, because it's really, without their action, nothing happens. But we're giving them an option to be able to have an effect. And, you know, with the relaunch of our site this month and our push out into new communities that are launching in September, we, as a community member, the experience that you have collectively with your community isn't one of isolation anymore, which is what people face when they go to the shops. I don't know about you, but shopping is rather a lonely activity for me, especially now, even before the pandemic. But we don't come into contact with anyone when we shop. We're often scanning it in ourselves, or when we go to buy clothes, we're taking it off the hanger ourselves. And we want to bring back this element of connection when it comes to the simple things. And by picking up all of the things that you and your family need in the best form with the community members that you share your space with, we think that in itself can be actually quite profound. But I think there's really an interesting, I'd like to go a little bit deeper in regards to sort of the supply chain, because I believe from a customer centric level, if we're to talk about, you know, that ugly word of money and price for a second, I think we've all found that we're paying a lot more for a lot less. And the supply chain in and of itself tends to be, when you look at it, when you buy any given product, around 3% is the raw product and the price of the product that you're actually buying. About 7% of what you buy is the supply chain. So for all of the distributors, manufacturers, to get it from A to B through into the stores. But then everything else is really either marketing, or you're paying for the lighting of the store. All of these costs, which you don't really associate with your product, you're actually paying for. So we're looking to try and create a huge amount of value in a time where money is really tight, and it will be over the next kind of 5 years as we get out of this economic downturn. And it's really important for green initiatives, whether they're like ours, green community initiatives, or anyone else, to be really price competitive when it comes to not just supermarkets, but other products. And we feel that we've attained that type of level even in the short time and the small beta tests that we've been working at, just because we've cut out all of the middlemen, we've cut out all of the distribution links. So when you're buying one of our products, you're buying it in its purest form, and we're not passing on the costs of electricity or labor or the square foot space that we'd have to have on a high street, for instance, because you already have that within your community. You have more value in your community than you realize, and you have more power in your pocket than you could ever imagine. And we're hoping to bring that to light in our company.
No, I love that. And I think you teed it up so well to my next question, which was, would you be able to share with the audience a little bit of the outcomes from the pilot, feedback, responses, that sort of thing? Because I'm sure there are a fair amount of interested communities in here who are watching. We have about 150 people watching in the audience, like not live. I don't want to freak you out, but they're not live, but they will obviously watch this incrementally over time. So it would be nice, to share a bit of those results and outcomes, or how you guys have been doing.
Absolutely. If I may take kind of our journey from sort of beta to where we are now, and I'd love to hand over to Rich, who I'd like to kind of tee him up to really discuss some of the feedback that we had from parents and headmasters in particular. So when we first started, right just at the end of last year, we wanted to test our hypothesis, basically, which is, will customers and community members buy this? Will community leaders take this on board and endorse us in what we're doing? And is this going to be a scalable model? Can we scale this to over 1,000 communities in the next 2 years? And really, we had to start with, everything starts with one. So we started with a primary school, where we knew that parents tend to love your primary school more than you love anything else, because you love your child. And we understood that parents go to that location at least twice a day. So it was going to be very easy operationally for us to be able to operate there and drop off our stuff and have a lot of time gaining feedback and gaining information about how people feel about our products and the service. And we were given really great access by a wonderful headmaster called Mr. Shum down in Shepherd's Bush, who leads an amazing community. And it's a fantastic school, which I think without them, we could still be searching for our first one. But really, that kicked us off at the end of last year, and we've grown our communities now. And obviously, they were curtailed during lockdown, but we're in the process of relaunching, and we're now looking to take on 20 in September. But it's in regards to the communities that we have at the moment, there's 5 communities that are now active. And in regards to success, we're really looking, even at the beginning stages, we're looking at between 10 to 15% of that community signing up. What we're doing now with our new iteration and our new website is we're allowing communities to be able to grow that base of members before we even arrive to launch our service. And that way, any community can engage with us and spread the word as much as possible. And because when looking at the data, there really is a tipping point of around 25% of, if 25% of any group or community that you're in adopts a product or service, it really takes on a life of its own. And we really believe in launching these eco zero waste stores and allowing community leaders to really have a sense of ownership in regards to that. And we think that having a digital campaign where people can launch when there's a significant number is the best scalable model. And that's what we're looking to do in September.
Awesome. Rich, did you want to jump in with some of the feedback from communities so far?
Yeah, I've got some testimonials. I'll just read out. I haven't learned them verbatim.
He does tattoo them on his body.
We mentioned Mr. Shum, who's the fabulous head teacher we've been working with at St Stephen's Primary School in West London, Shepherd's Bush. And he gave us a very generous quote saying, "We've been working with the society company for several months now. It's going really well. The guys who run the company are super, really helpful, and so far it's gone extremely smoothly. I really can thoroughly recommend them, and the parents love it." So that meant a lot to us to get that from our very first community that we're working with, that even from day one, we were able to work through any teething problems and still give people the kind of experience that they were hoping for. And yeah, we've had a very high retention rate, very few cancellations of subscriptions. People who have taken the leap of faith and joined us have tended to stick with us, and you know, I guess we are really becoming part of that community now. Like we get to see them once a month. We do the drop-offs. We have a chat with them when we see them. They give us feedback about which products they like. Some of the surprising ones get particularly strong mentions. Since launching Bran Flakes, for some reason, Bran Flakes is the one that everybody has decided to compliment us on. They keep telling us how much they love the Bran Flakes. So that was fantastic to get that from our very first community. And then the next community we launched with was Rokesley Schools in Crouch End. And I've got an equally positive testimonial there from the head of the Parent Staff Association. So that's the organisation that runs the fundraising for the school. It's a bit long, but I'll read it very quickly. "We're delighted to be able to offer a service to our parents that helps them increase their sustainability at home whilst keeping their cupboards stocked with a wide range of quality items and raise funds for the school, especially while our usual fundraising events and activities are so badly affected by the outbreak. The initiative has been a big success so far, and my family thinks the products are excellent and real value for money." So I'll leave it there. I won't carry on reading. There's more of them on the website, but we've basically been very, very, I guess, honoured that our subscribers have really not only taken the chance of working with us, but then have really seen the value in what we're doing and have been so generous in their appreciation of what we're doing. So it's been extremely gratifying so far, and literally can't wait to start rolling out to more communities in September and see how big we can make this and how many communities we can help raise money and how much plastic we can save. So it's really interesting time for us at present.
I'd like to reiterate that as well. You know, personally, it's been very humbling to hear. It's by no means exhaustive, but we have a huge amount of positive feedback from customers who, you know, not 9 out of 10 have voted us very good, and I think it was 100% of all feedback that we got when we did a survey would recommend our product and service to a friend. And it's really the customers that send us long and wonderful and beautiful emails, you know, talking about the products and how they use them. And that feedback has been instrumental in being able to structure what we do, and has been absolutely, I don't think we could have got this far this quickly with our product selection, our product choice, without that engagement. And we started to realize that we were doing something special for people, you know, in their homes by providing what they need at the right price and giving back the money to their community. and that people were really, really responding to this. And it's the customer feedback that I like the most. But as Rich said, there's an exhaustive list on our website, so do pop over if you have a chance. So,
fantastic. Yeah, no, that's good. Sorry, I keep because I'm sharing screen, I often forget how to unmute. So we have a question from the audience. So they ask that, great work, guys. This is such a shift away from general consumer buyer behavior. Have you seen any challenges or pushback from parents on your model?
Rich, do you want to answer that one, or shall I? Because it's a really good question, and I think we'd both answer it in different ways.
Okay, you go first.
So when it comes to kind of pushback, I think we were so much in a stage of development of being able to work out exactly our product market fit. We've been incredibly responsive when it comes to feedback, but it's important to make it scalable. Rich, I've just had a knock on the door. Can you take over for 1 second?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
So one of the challenges presented by the lockdown has been the supply chain disruption. And that's meant that obviously there's massive competition for core products like pastas and rices. And unfortunately that meant that we, by default, had to start buying more niche products just because the availability was there. So we've had trouble securing the core products that we wanted to offer, and have offered slightly more niche products than we maybe wanted to. So one of the pushbacks has been that people would like to have even more value, and that's something that we're actively working on. And now that the lockdown is beginning to ease and supply chains are returning to normal, then we will be offering more and more products that are even more value, mainstream products, not just organic. We don't want it to be a product only for well-off people. We want it to be a product for everybody. So we're really going to try and make sure that there is value options. So it's not like there's definitely always going to be a place for organic options and for people who want to have premium products, but we also want to be able to offer people the core range where they can get even larger portions without it necessarily being organic, but still being sustainably sourced and sustainably packaged. So that would be the main pushback I think we've had so far.
Yeah, it's just expanding our range, and we did that incrementally through our beta testing to the point where we're at the 60 most used ubiquitous essentials that people use day in, day out, but we're looking to expand that even further. And the larger we go, the less pushback we'll get, the less customers will come back to us saying, oh, you don't have this, you don't have that. We really want to provide in that essential range everything that a family could possibly need at a price that doesn't cost the earth. Yeah.
No, I think that's important, and I think also, so just so you guys know, we had Chris from Harvest London speaking on Friday.
Yeah,
all the days have merged into one. We had Chris speaking, and there was a lot of discussion also around how organic isn't totally the answer. And I think that Rich, I love that you mentioned that you have to have something for everyone. You can't just sort of not single people out, but it's that kind of fine line between serving your customer and also basically surviving as a business. So I'm glad you brought that up. You have another comment from a viewer, which is quite nice. They said, this is awesome. When we look at trying to change people's purchasing behavior, I feel the biggest challenge to overcome is convenience. You guys are absolutely nailing it. So when are you rolling it out to Portugal?
Give us time. Just give us time.
or whoever wrote this, you can champion the community out there. Because it is all about that. But yeah, Rich is like, Nim, stop saying that. We don't have a supply chain out there.
Right. We'll focus on London for the time being, and then slowly spread, and then Portugal phase 2 or 3.
Portugal will be next.
There you go. Well done. No, I think that that's fantastic. So a question from all of us as attendees in the audience, which we ask all speakers, is, for you guys as a company, when we reference, the UN General Secretary statement that we have 10 years to turn the boat around, so to say, or build an ark, or whatever you want to call it. But what is the focus for Society Company in those 10 years to align to that vision?
Well, I spoke previously about what I believe our mission statement is over the next 10 years, to create resilient communities that are self-sustaining. And really what that needs is growth and scalability. And to do that, we need a product offering, as we mentioned, just in the last section, when we were answering the question, was that it has to be, this has to involve everyone in a community, not just the well-off. It has to be, every element of what we do has to be scalable. So it has to be convenient. It has to be price competitive. We have to give back more than any other company has given back. We have to be more generous if we're going to grow. And one of the values of the company is give first and then receive. And when you're working with communities, it's not just to, in a cynical way, to try and gain trust so you can operate there. It's really so that you can be part of that community, and that you're off by giving first and then receiving. You're showing that that you can become part of that community and that you're invested. Because we believe that this is a fantastic business in and of itself by the very fact that we are investing in communities. When you look at some of the communities that we deal with, when you look at churches, some of them have stood for over 1,000 years. Schools, a lot of them for over 100. And you look at the average business lifespan, you're averaging around 18 years, and that's with, quite large established companies after a certain amount of time. So from an investment point of view, I think it's smart and good business to invest back into communities, because they're the ones, they will last and have proven the test of time. Whereas a lot of businesses can be fly by night in the startup space, and when they're big and established and corporate, can have elements of corruption. So I think by staying true to ourselves and our value system, by connecting ourselves at this grassroots level with communities and investing back the money that we make into those communities, we stand the best chance of surviving as long as these communities have. I'm not sure if that answered the question, but
no, I think it does, because I think oftentimes we forget that moving forward doesn't necessarily mean get rid of everything that we had before. Stuff, we've been doing things for years which worked perfectly well until consumerism came in and botched it all up. So a lot of times, I like what you say, because it's about maintaining integrity back to our roots, right? So I do really like that. Have we lost Rich?
I'm back. I think my video. Yeah, sorry, I'm not sure what happened. I have video available at this end, if wanted.
All right.
Don't worry.
No worries.
It's
But yeah, I am back.
I think we were just kind of covering off a question in regards to a sort of, not exactly a 10-year plan, but a sort of, where do you see this going in kind of 10 years? Because I know that initially we've talked kind of internally about, how far can we go into the marketplace side? Like, do we want to be known as a kind of ethical Amazon with zero packaging waste? Like, I think from a customer point of view, I think social capital is now more important than actual capital. You know, going down the pub and being able to talk about what you do is a really important part of kind of a millennial's kind of everyday life, and feeling that what they're doing is actually important and making a difference. I think that's a customer behavior which we're riding the wave of. And really, I think another big change or estimation, I think it's maybe an assumption that I'm making, or making a gamble with this particular company, is I'm making the assumption that people's association and love of their community is greater than the love that they have to their brands within the products that they buy. And that actually the only brand that's important right now is the most ethical supply chain, rather than the shiny product on a hill. And I think customers are getting wise to that. And I think that's something that we're pushing all the time. I think we could go into every single sector potentially. You know, any potential vertical is up for grabs when it comes to us 5 years down the line, because our community members know exactly what they're getting when they buy from us. They're buying the most eco version of that product, and the profit is going back into the community they love. And that's what we do. So I think what we can do over the next coming 5-10 years is we can actually grow the type of products and services that we provide if we stay true to our values. And if the number one being that we find the best version of that product, and we put only that one on our website and our service, and we stay absolutely true to our values when it comes to giving and sharing that profit back with the community. Because why would, you know, from a consumer point of view, once you get into the swing of things and you've been purchasing from us for a while on this subscription basis with what you need, why can't you buy everything in this way? Because you know that it will benefit your community, not just in the short term, but the long term as well. And I think that's a really interesting direction, along with helping to direct the funds that we give and match fund that with CSR to be able to do a Solar for Schools program or a vertical farm within a church. I think those are two aspects that I'd really like to explore over the next 10 years. But I'd be interested to hear Rich's side if he's not doing some childcare in the back.
No, I'm here. Yeah, I think the idea of becoming a trusted curator of the best in class products in terms of sustainability and value, and then knowing that if you buy that curated product that you know is going to give you that performance and sustainability, that you also get the added benefit of knowing that a big chunk of the revenue is going back to your community, then I think that gives us the ability to play in lots of different channels.
Could you maybe talk about the ecometrics side of what we give customers? Because I think that's a nice segue into how we're trying to do it now, and how we try and keep that with future products that we.
Yeah, that's very much a work in progress. So we're really keen to really get under the skin of all of the sustainability of the products that we source and supply. And so looking at ways of making that really easy for us to understand it with our suppliers as we go forward, but also ways of communicating that to our subscribers so that they can make more informed decisions. And yeah, the system that we're working on, we call ecometrics, and hopefully that will be something that we can roll out in the not too distant future. But we think the idea of giving people that insight in a really easy way into how we source things and the kind of embodied energy in it and how much plastic's in it would be really.
Because at the moment, sorry, you were just breaking up a bit on my end. I'm not sure if it was the same with Namisha, But at the moment, we tell communities on a monthly basis how much money has been raised by them engaging in the society company and buying what they need in this way. And we can tell them roughly how much plastic has been saved. But we'd like to see those eco-metrics grow as our data abilities grow in regards to analyzing the supply chain, but also analyzing the DEFRA data that we have access to. And I think it's going to be an exciting road to find out and to see how specific we can get, whether we can get down to finding out these eco-metrics of CO2 saved, for instance, on potentially any given product, not just as a collective and as a community. But I think that's where we know that we can start and we can be firm in regards to those figures. So that's what we do at the moment, but it's an area we'd like to grow.
I think that it's the perfect trajectory for you guys to move in based on what you've described. So I think that's really positive. Another question from the audience, which talks about how do children engage with your offering?
Rich, do you want to take this one?
I'll try. Is my connection stable again? I keep getting my computer saying that connection unstable, so I apologize if I fade in and out.
No, you're good. It's perfectly
okay.
clear.
I mean, that's actually very relevant because it's probably unstable because my 3 kids are probably playing online games or streaming video, so that's probably yeah. So yeah, kids are engaging in it really nicely. We had a lovely bit of testimonial saying that the first time one of our subscribers went home with one of our bags full of products, like the whole family gathered around together to open it up like it was not quite a Christmas stocking, but it was a real occasion to get it back and to be excited about the products coming out of it. And they said how different that was from their experience with bringing back a bag of shopping from the supermarket. So I think that we are seeing that kids are really buying into it. One of the schools that I went to visit yesterday as a potential new community, they were telling me how we were probably a great fit for them because their kids are already so bought into this idea. They were telling me a story that their canteen served up ice cream in single-use plastic pots, and there was almost an uprising, like a group of kids descended on the head teacher's office, demanding that never again should they serve ice cream in single-use plastic. It should be bought in a big tub and served in reusable containers. So it was amazing. So it really seems like there is that awareness in the kids, and we're delighted if we can help develop that. Our first schools have said that fundraising, yes, that's one of the reasons why they want to work with us, but also it gives them something tangible to talk to the kids about in relation to sustainability. It's on all the curriculum. Obviously, it's a big thing. Most schools are really trying to do whatever they can on it, and so to give them an option, an easy way to talk about it with their kids with something physical that they can see in action, then that hopefully gets the kids even more excited and empowered and gives them the information they need, and maybe they can go and change their parents' behavior to a certain extent. Bit of pester power, asking them to reduce plastic or buy more sustainably. Who knows, maybe it could get that far.
Oh, I think it will. I had like a little moment where you told me there was an uprising. I'm like, yeah. Go young people, fight for what you want. No, I think that's really positive. I know I had come along with you guys to one of your launches or pre-launches, and it was just before Christmas, right? So yeah, for those of you who are curious or whoever asked that question, there is something really I can't find the right word for it, but I could observe parents looking at the not just the setup, but also the proposition and what you have to offer, and not just engaging with it like, oh, okay, that's cool. It was, people were really picking apart like, oh, so what kind of oat milk is this, and what is this, and what is that? And so I think there's also something to be said for parents also increasing their level of awareness on how they're shopping, because they realize the influence that has on their children. So yeah, I just wanted to echo that because that's something I definitely observed when I was with you guys. And also the kids just get so excited, not just because it's food. I think because they really feel like, oh, here's a solution that actually works. So,
yeah, I think it's an area that we really want to think about carefully in regards to how can we let the kids engage with this, whether it's, you know, you don't necessarily want to put a leaderboard up of sort of recycling because it's not a competitive activity, but some type of game where the children can be part of returning the plastic and empties that they've used. Because often, as you say, we have found the children to be initially more engaged than the parents about that aspect of what we're doing. And I think, you know, we'd be missing a trick if we didn't try and be as inclusive as possible and make it fun for everyone. You mentioned just at the end there around kind of the provenance piece, and that's something that we're looking with our rebrand and relaunch to really get quite specific in regards to that and really use that piece. The provenance issue of understanding where something comes from and feeling connected. You know, if this company is about making connections, you know, not just within your community, it should also be about creating the right connections with the products that you buy, the things that you put inside yourself and feed yourself with, not just the places that you love and the people you do it with. It has to be connections on all fronts. So the provenance piece is something we're going to shout about a bit more, because you're absolutely right. It's something that, you know, in the heat of the moment, in the beta, when you're trying to do so many things, that actually you forget the golden thing, one of your USPs.
Yeah,
that's just sitting there.
Yeah, but I think that's part and parcel of learning, right? So it's like anyone who's creating businesses like this, it's, for lack of a better word, it's a little bit of uncharted territory, right? It's like kind of I remember when we first got talking about you guys, and you explained it to me the first time, and I was like, yeah, I get it. And you were like, oh, you get it. And I was like, yeah, I get it. And it's like, and so, you know, it is uncharted territory for all of us who are trying to pioneer or pave or, you know, do things in a different way. So yeah, sometimes we do definitely miss obvious USPs that are sitting right in front of us. But
yeah,
you know,
the treasure that's you know, you spend such a long time looking for treasure, there's one right under your seat.
No, I think that's really promising. Well, we don't have any more questions from the audience, but I thought I would open it up to both of you for sort of final thoughts, both on what you're doing, but also in the wider narrative of sustainable development. What would your message be to the audience? Do you want to go first, Rich?
Message to the audience. Well, we've got a very self-selecting audience. I imagine that most people who are watching London Climate Action Week broadcasts are probably already amongst the converted of people who believe in climate change. So I say keep doing what you're doing, and together we're going to make a difference.
Absolutely. Seb?
I'd encourage anybody that's watching to reach out to us and to see if the community that you're a part of would like to engage. I think it's a win-win-win. Like, this isn't just a nice thing that, you know, can show your kids or your family how much you appreciate the environment. This is a real opportunity to be able to create a huge amount of value, not just with community members at getting what they need at the best prices without it costing the earth. It's about bringing real value to the community that you're a part of in real cash terms. And at a time when communities are facing incredible difficulty of fundraising being curtailed, as most of it involves some type of social interaction. And just, I'd like to make a little point in regards to that, and a follow up in regards to the situation we're in now. I think we've been separated from what we feel makes life really special. And although this has been a really, really terrible time for humanity, it's been a great time for us to realize the importance of community. And if we're going to see these communities survive in the way that we want them to and serve us in the way that they have done in the past over these next 5 years, I think they need as much support and as much revenue as they can, not just at this moment, but into the future. And this company, the Society Company, is on a mission to create those resilient, self-sustaining communities. So if you're watching and you can think of a community that would benefit from speaking with us, working with us, we'd absolutely love to hear. So please do get in contact with us. Namisha has our details and is not just an investor, but a co-founder at this point in regards to the ideas and energy she has. And we're on a journey and a mission, and we'd love for you to join us. So please do get in contact in any way, either through Namisha or going onto our website at weareso.co.
I will pop both your LinkedIn's, your website, and just a general email for people to contact you on inside the hub, so people can, you know, get in touch, you know, collaborate. I mean, maybe your parents are watching and you think, hey, that could work well in our schools. You could be university students and maybe you want to champion SOCO at your uni. Like, that's a possibility. You know, that the good thing about this whole business model and proposition is that it's not limited to educational institutions or places of worship. If you're a community and you have some sort of physical presence, even if that means, you know, like Joanna's backyard where the street comes and picks up the rest of the shopping. Again, Rich is going to, we should stop saying things like this. But you know, I think it's all in the realm of possibility. And you know, one of the most common themes again of this summit has been, you know, vote with your pound or your dollar. So if you're really, really invested in seeing some level of system change when it comes to all of these problems that we see, whether it's consumerism, whether it's waste, whether it's, you know, bad produce, whether it's the inefficiencies of produce, you know, vote with your dollar, start a community, create something good within the spaces that you guys operate in, and we'll be there to support you guys. So thank you, Rich. Thank you, Seb, for always agreeing to do these kind of crazy things with me. But, you know, I think for me, it was really important for your story to be heard because it's so relevant, like you said, given, you know, obviously the time we're coming out of, but also, you know, for the longevity of basically society. I think community is a total cornerstone of that. So first and foremost, thank you to both of you for all that you do. And second of all, we got work to do on Monday. Okay.
Yeah. But today we pub.
We're gonna go to the pub. Yeah, for sure, for sure. All right.
Thank you very much, Damisha.
No, my pleasure. All right.
I wanted to, on a personal note, I wanted to say thank you for all you've done, not just this week, but over the year in the course of our company, helping guide us and shepherd us in the right way. You've been absolutely amazing, Namisha. So thank you.
Oh, it's my honor. I love championing people like you guys. So yeah, absolute honor. But thank you guys.